All right, now that you have your materials that you picked up from the school, what you should find is at least either a spiral notebook or one of these college ruled composition notebooks. Now you also have in there some notebooks that are either labeled as science or math. You are welcome to use the math one also for your math notes. However, I think that you'll find that there might not be enough pages in there. So I'm going to use a composition notebook, but you can also be using your spiral notebook for your notes. So we're going to do our inside here, what we can do is a table of contents. So we're going to start off by putting the standard. So this is really helpful knowing why it's important. It's important because it has been identified for 5th graders as one of the skills that you need to be able to leave 5th grade with. So we have our standard, kind of the title of whatever it is where we're doing, and then over here the page. So I kind of am just drawing some squiggly lines so that it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And this is our table of contents. Now, what I would do is after you have your table of contents, I would skip the next page, and then this one you can label page 1. Okay, so we're going to skip a page first. And we're going to be thinking about the standard 5 NBT B7. So this is the operations with decimals, and this one we're just going to be thinking about multiplying decimals, and this is going to go on page 1. Okay, so we're starting off with multiplying decimals inside of our notebook, and this is going to help keep us kind of organized so that if I need to go back and look in the future, what are the strategies for multiplying decimals, I can go back to that page 1, and then I am going to title it Multiplying Decimals, and then I can look at the different strategies that we are introduced to in this lesson. So first we're going to start with, I'm going to do a model of a hundredths grid for decimals, and then we're going to do some other models in our notebook here. So right here I have the example of multiplying 7/10 times 2. And so with that 7/10 times 2, right, we're really thinking that we have 2 groups of that 7/10. So we should know that 7/10, right, this would be our 10th right here, that whole column. There are 100 of these little squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. So one of the 10 would be a 10th, and I have 7 of those. So I'm going to fill in 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/10. So there is my first group of 7/10. And then I'm going to identify a second group of 7/10. 1, 2, 3/10, 4, 5, 6, 7/10. So that is my second group of 7/10. So really what I'm doing in this model is I'm thinking of these as 2 groups of 7/10. And I'm just adding these 2 groups of 7/10 together. So this is my second group of 7/10. And what I notice is that this would be that one whole. Like if I'm thinking of this money-wise, this would be like 7 dimes plus another 7 dimes. That would be 1 whole dollar. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths on this side. So that'd be $1 and 4 dimes, 40 cents. So if I have like 7 dimes and 7 dimes, that would be the same thing as 1 and 4 tenths. Okay? so what you should be thinking about is if you added 7 and 7, that would be 14. So when I have 7/10 and 7/10, I make sure that that decimal is lined up when I add them. So now we're going to take some notes. So this is my example. How did I get that 1 4/10 using the hundreds grids? Now this time we're just going to use the repeated addition. So knowing that I have 7/10 times 2, so we're going to write 7/10 times 2. What this means is 2 groups of 7/10. And so then I'm going to identify those 2 groups of 7/10 and I'm adding them together. And so when I add decimals, right, I need to line up the decimal. And I just think, well, 7 and 7 is 14. This decimal needs to get down in my answer here. All right, so I just bring that down. And then I get 1 4/10. So then this would be 1 4/10. So 7/10 times 2 is 1 4/10. Another way that I can do this is on a number line. So if I start at my open number line, right, I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to have my first group of 7/10. So if here is 1, I'm going to put 1 whole and then 2. So if I'm adding tenths, that means that I've taken 1 and I've broken it into 10 pieces. So I'm going to put 1 in the middle, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to make 5 pieces on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4 to make 5 pieces on that side. And then I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get to 1 whole, right? 10 tenths would be 1 whole. 10 out of 10, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So if I'm adding 7/10, I should count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/10. This is where 7/10 would be. So I've added 7/10. And then that's that beginning one. And then I'm going to add another 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I added 7/10. And I notice that I'm above 1 whole, and then this would be 1 1/10, 1 2/10, 1 3/10. This one right here would be 1 4/10. So now we're going to look at this using a different set of numbers. Notice that I'm multiplying times 2 here. 2 is a whole number larger than 1. And I got a number larger than 7/10. So I started with 7/10. I multiplied it times a number larger than 1, and I got a number larger than 7/10. So now let's think about what if I have, and this is 5/10 times 6/10. Okay? So we're going to use the same area model. So this is my area model for this one where I have my 7/10 and I have 2 of them. Okay, so my area model for this one, I have 5/10 is going to be on this side, and then I have 6/10 on this side. Okay? So I'm going to start with my 5/10. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. I'm going to multiply it times 6/10, so the 6/10 is going the other direction. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. Now my answer isn't the whole thing. My answer is where they overlap. Okay, so where they overlap, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And remember that's 30 out of 100, so that would be 30 hundredths, like this. Or I can drop the 0 and think of it as 3/10, right? 30 hundredths is the same thing as 3/10. 30 divided by 10 is 3. 100 divided by 10 is 10. Okay. Well, 3/10 is less than 6/10 or 5/10. Right? But what do I know? I know that 5 times 6 is 30, right? But I also know that 5 is less than 1 and that 6 is less than 1. So when I'm doing this kind of problem, I need to be thinking about if I'm doing 6/10 times 5/10. Okay? I know, I'm just going to think about 6 times 5. I know that 6 times 5 is 30. Now, in my visual, okay, it's only 30 hundredths, so it's actually 3/10. So I would not put the decimal right here. This is incorrect. So we should do this, and then we're going to go, no, that is not correct. Okay? So I should be thinking, I know that 6/10 times 5/10. Well, 6 times 5 is 30. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write 30. And then how many numbers, factors, are behind the decimal? And the answer is 2, right? 1, 2. 1,